Grandpa Trump is becoming a menace. He's 78 years old. I mean, this is the age where you start to ask, you know, should Grandpa's car keys be taken away from him? That this is nothing new. People call into the program and they go, oh, Trump is going senile. Trump has got dementia. Trump has Alzheimer's. I don't think so. I think Trump's mind is actually working pretty much the way it always has. He's always had terrible judgment because he does things on impulse. He doesn't think them through. He doesn't think about the consequence. He doesn't ask the question. And finally, he got a grift that actually works, which is politics. I think what's going on is that Trump is just deeply and profoundly incompetent. A federal judge has ordered that the Tufts University candidate, Rumeysa Öztürk, a Turkish foreign exchange student, who was arrested by masked, plainclothes federal agents outside her Boston apartment back in March and has been held in a prison ever since then. She committed the horrible crime of co-authoring an op-ed for the Tufts University student newspaper a year ago that criticized Netanyahu's bombing the crap out of Gaza. That is now a crime in the United States for which you can be put in prison. She was imprisoned for several months. And a federal judge said, what the hell are you people doing? Well, he didn't absolutely say that. He said there's absolutely no evidence that she has engaged in violence or advocated violence. She has no criminal record. She has done nothing other than essentially attend her university and expand her contacts within the community in such a supportive way. Good person. But hey, she pissed off Netanyahu, and that's enough for Trump to go after her, right? Autocrats got to stick together. Meanwhile, this is an interesting piece. Chris Truax writing over at The Hill, noting that Trump's impulsive ideas don't make any sense. He writes, the president doesn't know what the Declaration of Independence is. He was last week because he just had the Declaration of Independence posted in his Oval Office. And so somebody said, well, what is the Declaration of Independence to you? And he said, oh, it's a love letter. It's an expression of love. Well, actually, it was a declaration of war against the United Kingdom. And a long list of grievances. There was no love in there at all. So Trump obviously has never read the Declaration of Independence and never paid attention in any elementary school, middle school, high school, or college class in which the history of our nation was discussed. I mean, he literally doesn't know what the Declaration of Independence is. And now he's got this trade war with China, where he just, randomly says, China says, well, if you put tariffs on us, we'll put tariffs on you. And Trump says, okay, 145%, drop that. And he just pulls it out of his backside. I mean, this is just there's no rationale for it. There's no justification. There's no math. It's just, and the result, of course, is going to be that we're going to slide into a recession this summer. And I think it's going to be a pretty severe one. But maybe there's something even more substantial going on here. Now, again, this is this op-ed over at The Hill. He says the ravages of old age can take many forms. Trump is losing whatever inhibitions he had along with his judgment, pushing for Alcatraz and saying, movies should be tariffed. Well, movies are considered services as opposed to goods. And we could debate that, but that's the category that they fall into, intellectual property. And we don't tax intellectual property at all anywhere. We export most of it. In fact, the countries that have a trade, with whom we have a trade surplus, it's in those kind of things. It's in financial services, it's in software, it's in, Facebook, it's in, that kind of stuff. Movies, things like that. His lying about Kilmar Garcia having MS-13 on his knuckles. His discussion about, well, little girls should just have $3 or 5 pencils. I mean, Grandpa Trump is becoming a menace. He's 78 years old. I mean, this is the age where you start to ask, should Grandpa's car keys be taken away from him? And So, you know, there's this growing number of commentators who are pointing this out. Now, I would point out to them and to you that this is nothing new. People call into the program and they go, oh, Trump is going senile, Trump has got dementia, Trump has Alzheimer's. I don't think so. I think Trump's mind is actually working pretty much the way it always has. He's always had terrible judgment. He cheated on all three of his wives. His best friend was Jeffrey Epstein. In fact, he may have been his only friend for years and years. He consistently, year after year after year, committed tax fraud and insurance fraud, knowingly. The guy has been convicted of 34 felonies. He's been charged with many others. His businesses have been convicted of crimes. But I think most telling is you just look at his business history. You know, Trump steaks, Trump vodka, Trump board game, Trump airlines, Trump water, Trump ice, the list just goes on and on and on. I mean, you know, he's Trump University. He has started probably 30 or 40 businesses. The Trump 6 Trump casinos that all failed. Every single one of them. They were spectacular failures. Because he does things on impulse. He doesn't think them through. He doesn't think about the consequence. He doesn't ask the question. I mean, I get it being a serial entrepreneur, right? I have started 7 or 8 businesses in my life, maybe even 9. Several of them did not succeed. One failed spectacularly. It was one of my very first businesses. It was called the Electronics Stride. It was a TV repair shop in East Lansing that Louise and I started in 1968 when I was 17 years old, and maybe it was 69. And it was right across the street from Michigan State University. I was living just on that same block in a little one-room room. And I grew it up to the point where we had 5 employees, and then I killed it. I mean, you know, we just grew too fast. We expanded too fast. And, you know, frankly, this was during the transition from vacuum tubes to integrated circuits and things, and I just underestimated the reliability of integrated circuits. But that's a whole other story. My point is, every time and 5 of our businesses were very successful and made lots of money. But the point is, every time you start a business, you have to go through due diligence. You have to ask yourself, you know, how is this going to work? What are the things that could stop us? How do we maximize the probabilities of success? Trump never does any of that stuff. He's just like, oh yeah, let's start a board game with Donald Trump. Let's sell Trump ties. That's a great idea. Let's sell Trump handkerchiefs. I mean, you know, he's just. And finally, he got a grift that actually works, which is politics. And now he's got this crypto grift going that apparently has made him several $billion already. He's monetizing the White House. But he's been a grifter his whole entire life, but he's also been this impulsive. I think what's going on is that Trump is just deeply and profoundly incompetent. He's never been good at running anything in his whole entire life. And the few successes he's had, if you want to call them successes, if you want to call running a business that's essentially a criminal enterprise that was committing tax fraud and insurance fraud for decades, his real estate empire, if you want to call that a success, the only reason that it was a success was because he had Alan Weisselberg and Michael Cohen working for him, who ran the damn business. And I'm forgetting the woman's name. But he had a woman who was also running his business for him, who has since come out and kind of dished dirt on him. So I'm not surprised by any of this. And I think that we have to prepare for the worst, that he's going to screw up everything he touches, him and Musk. And, Musk posits that he's, some great intellectual, some, profound, deep thinker and inventor. He didn't invent Tesla. He bought it from 2 guys. And the only reason it became a success was because Barack Obama loaned them a bunch of government money. I mean, the same with pretty much every company he's got. And I just think these guys, they're tearing our government apart. They've fired a couple 100,000 federal employees, most of them black people, or many of them. I think that their racism is the primary thing that's animating this, and now he's off on this immigration jag, and let's throw brown-skinned people in jail. I don't think any of it's going to work. It's a disaster. It's destroying America's reputation around the world. One day he's pro-Ukraine, the next day he's anti-Ukraine, one day he's pro-Russia, the next day he's just, yesterday he was talking about let's tax the rich. He doesn't intend to do it. In fact, he said Republicans shouldn't do this. Well, why did he say it? Because he knows that his base wants the rich taxed. So he's going to say the words because he knows that perception, or he believes perception, is more important than reality. He knows that it'll be aggressively reported by right-wing media. Hey, Trump wants to tax rich people. And then people will say, well, maybe we should like him after all. It's just breathtaking. And we're seeing it right now. I was just going to say, I think it's going to really harm America. You don't have to imagine that or think that. It is harming America right now, right here. This is not a good thing. This is not healthy. But here we are. We're stuck with him for a while.